Europe isn't really eager to obey. Now, the United States, by the way, even though outwardly they seem, to be fighting, right? If you read the news, you'll say, yes, the United States doesn't want to submit to China, they're fighting. In reality, it's actually the opposite. The rabbit hole in the looking glass is so deep that few can see all the way through it. The US is increasing its uranium purchases by 2.5 times. And who are they buying uranium from? Take 3 guesses. Of course, from Russia. So where are the sanctions? Well, it's not clear, is it? How can that be? But sanctions, they're always just noodles for the common people. Back in 2015, I was in Altai. Someone asked me, what do you think about the sanctions? I said then, there are no sanctions, it's just noodles for the people. They didn't understand me. Of course they didn't. It was 2015. The sanctions were just being introduced, and everywhere people were being hit with talk of these sanctions. And what was Tanya Karatsuba, Said Burkan saying? Of course not what all the media were saying. So how could anyone understand me if I never say what all the media say? Well, that's how it is. So I'm revealing one of these secrets to you. The United States is buying uranium and has increased its purchases from Russia by 2.5 times. So there are no sanctions. There is no Cold War at all. And all this loud talk, with all its twists and turns, and with the Kalinka Malinka song, and all sorts of shamanic dances, it's all, my friends, just for the people. But behind the people's backs, behind their ears, big things are happening, things no one will tell you about, because the masters aren't obliged to explain themselves to the serfs. Yes, in this context, of course, we can also talk about how, remember, we were warned that electricity prices in Europe would go up, and they even issued directives on how much they would rise. But in Germany, it seems they haven't raised them, and in Switzerland, they haven't raised electricity prices yet either. But they keep scaring people with talk of rising gas and fuel prices. Gasoline prices go up and down. Gasoline prices are also fluctuating, of course. Well, as for Europe, friends, of course, they want to destroy the white population, and they need to experiment on someone. Bill Gates, for example, has a program, he announced it, about blocking out the sun. But the sun will only be blocked over Europe. Why over Europe? Why does he want to block out the sun over Europe? Is it because he lives in the United States? Or is it because China needs it? Europe doesn't really want to obey. Now, the United States, by the way, even though outwardly they seem to be, at war, right? When you read the news, you'll say, yes, the United States doesn't want to obey China, they're at war. In reality, it's actually the opposite. The rabbit hole in Wonderland is so deep that few can see all the way through it. The United States reached an agreement with China a long time ago, not today, but sometime around the mid-2020s of the 21st century. That's around 2015, 2018, 2019. So the United States made a deal with China, and now everything operates according to their instructions. Even the development of behavioral programs is given to the United States by them. Of course, a lot in the country is done, so to speak, by their own hands. But there is a final consumer of everything that happens in the United States. And that final consumer is China. It's exactly the same with Europe. But here they need to use America's hands, the hands of the United States, to pinch Europe a bit and impoverish it so that it also becomes poor. It's not just Africa that should be poor, right? It's not just some cities in the United States, like Detroit, that should be destroyed. Europe should be the same way. And that means destroying white people. Well, for example, there's also the green program, right? Green corridors, green, clouds, yes, the green program for shutting down nuclear power plants. But the United States is building them, right? And Turkey just built one. And no one says anything, because Turkey has its own policy. It stands a little bit apart. Just like Belarus used to stand a bit apart from Russia's policy. Let's say, kind of sideways. But in the end, how did it all turn out? What did they change? They put in a puppet, Lukashenko, replaced Lukashenko with someone who is a whole head, if not more, below the real Lukashenko. But the people don't need this either, you see? The people don't want to notice because the thought process isn't activated among the masses. It's top-down control, where the masses are deprived of the ability to think. The Greens program to shut down such power plants against the backdrop of plans to block out the sun over Europe. Yes, friends, that's quite a program. They'll block out the sun, it'll get cold, and they're already doing it. In fact, they're already doing it, but they're blocking it with clouds. It's not like they're just putting some kind of disk in front of the sun, right? They're blocking it with clouds. This summer in Switzerland and in Germany and in France, not everywhere, of course, not in all regions, but it's a cold, very cold summer and very rainy, spending the summer in constantly rainy, miserable weather, when in July it snowed in the mountains. I open my window and there's snow right in front of me. I live high up in the mountains. Snow right in front of my eyes. How is that even possible? Is this supposed to be spring? 12 degrees, I almost said heat, just 12 degrees Celsius in July. This was at the end of July. 12 degrees Celsius. Of course, I packed up and left. It's impossible to stay in weather like that. And as for firewood, I'll be stocking up on firewood for the winter too. Usually I order it in August, but this time I'll have to do it a little later. So as for the program to destroy Europe, my friends, yes, it's being activated, it's working, because Europe still doesn't want to fully submit to Xi Jinping. He has his own quirks. It's unclear what's going on in his head or what his next plan is. He doesn't announce it, he consults with someone, but he doesn't make it public. The Chinese have their own policy after all. They are rather secretive people, and getting anything out of them, they'll just keep smiling, and that's all you'll get from them. So you still won't get a straight answer from them. You won't understand what they really want. That's why the program by which China plans to destroy Europe, this is the aspect that deserves the most attention. China is planning to destroy Europe. Of course, not all of Europe will be affected by destruction. Only certain places in Europe will be targeted. Not everywhere, friends. So, by the way, if anyone wants to move somewhere, feel free to contact me. I can advise you on where to move, because even within Europe there will be certain places, even within a single country, some areas might be in a bad situation, while another part of the country could be excellent. So there are such places, you need to identify and know them. And for that, of course, you need to be able to foresee from afar where military actions will begin. Yes, friends, military actions will also begin in Europe. Don't think otherwise. This is exactly what China is working towards now, the complete ruin of Europe, or, where possible, finding other places to survive. I can also give advice and explain about that. As for Russians, friends, there's no saving anyone here anymore. Only those remain who devoutly believe in Soviet power, who wanted to bring back the Soviet Union, and for whom even the Gulag is considered a free country. I am Tanya Karatsuba, and this is Said Burkan. Today is August 25th, 2023. It's hot. The sun is shining. It's wonderful. I'm enjoying it, and I will continue to enjoy it. I don't want to go back to a cold country where it's rather chilly. Well, of course, now the weather has improved again, but there's no harvest. There's no harvest in Europe. Everything either dried up, froze, or something else happened. I am Tanya Karatsuba. This is Said Burkan. Have a good day, a good